Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Tanya Pinchuk, CEO and co-founder of ExpoPlatform, AI-powered event technology platform. Today, we are diving into the key trends shaping the future of event technology. In the beginning of this year, and this is for first time we are doing this, we issued Event Tech Forecast. It's an annual research where we analyze tech trends in the events industry. You will have the link to this report in comments, and please feel free to download it. We have contributors to the research today on the panel, and together we will discuss the use of AI, data collection and analysis, and digital revenue. I will be referring to some numbers from this report as we discuss, and I'm joined by a fantastic panel of leading exhibition organizers and event digital experts. And I'm confident their insights and experience, day-to-day experience, will give you practical takeaways on how to improve the approach to technology at your own events. Our panelists are Stephan Forseilles, Narisa and Tamar Beck. Welcome. And let's please start with the quick round of introductions. So I see, Tamar, you already unmuted your mic. Let's start with you, please.
Hi, I'm Tamar Beck. I'm the CEO of Gleanin, which is a word-of-mouth platform for event marketers.
Thank you, Tamar, and welcome. Narisa, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Tanya. Hi, everyone. I'm Narisa, Chief Digital Officer at Clarion Events North America.
Welcome, Narisa and Stephan.
Hello, I'm Stephan. I'm CTO for Easyfairs. We're a trade show organizer and venue operator.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And let's start. So we will have three topics that we will cover today. It's AI, it's digital revenue, and data. And I would like to start with one question to each of you. And I would like to ask you in just a few words, what is the most impactful technology that you see as a trend in the events industry? May I start with you, Narisa?
Sure. So we think about it in different pillars. So we have a pillar around customer obsession. So what are the transformations or experiences that we want to create that drive value and allow our exhibitors, sponsors, attendees, peers to feel that we've put them at the forefront of what we're trying to accomplish on site and at the event. And so there are different technologies to support that. We're analyzing very carefully the role of the digital experience when you're on site and trying not to create so much of an overwhelming experience, right, where everything we want to do is tied to the mobile phone. So instead, thinking about how do we optimize personalization right through the chatbot experiences that can tell people, here's what you need to focus on today, here's what you missed today, here are the things that you want to prioritize in your day, but also in a way that feels that they can be present and immersed in the on-site experience and save some of the technologies around AI to post-event, right? So we're trying to elongate that as well through, second screen capture of our sessions, but not presenting it while they're on site, but actually thinking about how useful is that to you at the end of the event and when you get back to the office.
Thank you, Narisa. The same question to you, Stephan. Just in few words, what is this technology trend you see?
Yeah, of course, I think AI is a technology trend that's revolutionizing everything at the moment. It will probably be for the next, 5 to 10 years. For me, it's just a consequence of the data revolution we've seen for the past 10 years. And yeah, we could spend whole hours giving an example of how it improves events. I guess we will discuss that a little bit later. But for me, definitely it's AI and all of the ways that it changes our life, work, companies, events, and everything.
Yeah, thank you. And Tamar, what is your take on technology trend?
it's all about AI. That's it. That's the biggest kind of revolution I think that we've seen for a long time. And yeah, everything that I see coming down the road is connected to AI.
Yeah, so all of you mentioned AI, and this will be our first topic. Just not to not to waste any time. Let's move to it. And so, speaking about AI, in our research, AI takes also important part, and two areas stand out: people recommendations and data analysis with 67%, and followed by marketing and messaging automation, 57%. Respondents put it on top. So AI impacts on event tech, has a great impact on event tech and across different areas. But it seems like the event industry is a little bit behind in use of AI. Globally, AI tends to be more about learning from data, making predictions, and continuously evolving based on new input. So, Stephan, I would like to start this topic, AI topic, with you, knowing you as AI enthusiast, but also executor and user, active user of AI. So what do you think, what is your take from your personal view, from your company perspective, and overall in the industry? What is the real example AI where AI makes a difference now compared to what we had before?
First, I don't completely agree that our industry is late compared to the other ones. We're not lagging behind that much, I think, from what I see. For us, we try to define the uses of AI along three different dimensions. The first one is everything that's related to efficiency improvement, like workflow automation, for example, automatically classifying invoices that we receive from suppliers, removing workload from our employees, like providing chatbot for support, this type of thing. The second area is everything related to user experience, and that's like recommendations to visitors and exhibitors. It's also to our employees. For example, we use LLMs to analyze all the results of the surveys we make after the events and prepare briefings or debriefings for the event team, so it makes their life easier. And the last one, the third axis, is new products related to AI. That's definitely the toughest nut to crack. Everybody's working on that, but I haven't seen yet a real AI augmented product that people are actually paying for on trade shows at the moment. It's coming, I think, but it's for us, it's the most difficult, but it's definitely the most interesting, that's for sure. So these are the three axes. So efficiency, user experience, and new products.
Yeah, and you use it for end users and internally in the organization, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's dive deeper into some maybe narrower spaces, areas. And Tamar, I would like to ask you about event marketing. Where do you see AI help event planners to better prepare with their promotion, marketing campaign, personalization, targeting, personalization of targeting?
So I think we're seeing AI being used for good things and for bad things. It's contributing to more noise in terms of the ease now with which people can deliver marketing messages and ads and email and all the rest of it. So it's delivering to a lot of noise, but where I think it's being used, and I'm seeing people use it really, because my work is not just about efficiency, it's about effectiveness. So there's one thing about making yourself more efficient, but in terms of marketing, that marketing needs to become more effective as well. So it's not that you have to do them both. So we're seeing a really good use of AI tools, not event-specific AI tools, but where you can feed an AI tool behavioral data, and then and then using that with AI, where you can then add valuable personalization to your marketing campaign, so that your marketing hits better, that it grabs more attention, and that it's more likely to kind of drive action. So we're seeing a few cases like that. So I think behavioural data, either from what you collect at the show, is where attendees go, what they're looking at, what they're interested in, and then feeding that into next year's campaigns to try and persuade people to come back. But also with trying to tie that into people's behaviour on your website, which is where everyone goes first. What are they looking at? What are they showing interest in? We'll get onto registration shortly, but that should also be connected. But using that data to then feed in and tell people about things that can be interesting for them, rather than the kind of more generic stuff that we see out there. But it's definitely adding to a lot of the noise as well. So it's causing issues, but there's also some really good stuff happening.
Yeah. Is there any specific tool that you could mention in this regard?
Well, I mean, people are using all of the kind of generic tools, like ChatGPT is being used massively for kind of creating email copy and, you know, all sorts of kind of messaging. Claude, but it's only as good as the information that you're putting in. So I think you can combine that with behavioural data and understand and thinking about the psychology of attendees, rather than just trying to recreate kind of reams of generic sounding email. It's like, really, we have the opportunity now to really input the information and the data that helps us to understand each attendee better, and then serve them up communications that are matched to them, which is going to make event marketing a lot easier, you know, more effective.
Yeah, personalize the message when promoting the event. And users do start using the website before they even register, right? Before they become visitors. And even
everyone does, yeah.
Let's talk about engagement and personalization for end users. And end users, we mean by end users, we mean exhibitors, or sponsors, and visitors. Narisa, what do you see happening in this area? How AI can help to personalize the experience before and maybe during the event for exhibitors and visitors?
Yeah, so I think, you know, one thing I want to touch on is that trust is, you know, paramount with all of the work we do here, and building that trust. You know, our pillars are quite similar to Stephan. So internally, you have to create that trust. And so executing, you know, an LLM chatbot solution for an attendee experience, right, where they can ask questions of that personalized chatbot that is very custom to the event. The execution and the delivery to the attendee is almost the easy part. The challenging part that you have to win over is that the commercial leaders internally feel that all the prompts and all of the interactions and all of the questions and the data configurations and, you know, how you've architected all the questions and responses will address all of their attendee needs. And that honestly is the single most difficult thing to overcome, to ensure that you have just the right experience when you're on site. So, you know, yes, creating that attendee experience with the chatbot, we're definitely doing that. You know, we're all doing that. But we're trying to figure out, and that trust piece, I wanted to touch on that because it is really important that people have that as a really clear takeaway. The prompts and understanding the data and the structure is just so important to the quality of the product that you output, right? And we're also seeing that, you know, on-site experiences around personalization. So of course we're capturing data across registration, across media. So we're creating a very large blueprint of our attendees now that go further than just what they're doing prior events or on-site at that event, but rather what they're doing in our entire ecosystem that can influence the experience and the recommendations that we might make on-site, right, based on topics, people, specific tags that they've been tracking against. So we're making use of the media events connection as well, which I think has been really powerful. But then for the exhibitors, to your point, last point there, in the leads and the connections that we're presenting, when we're able to pull that data across the entire ecosystem to say, oh yeah, great, they came to your booth, they attended these sessions, here are the topics they're interested in, but here's 5 other things that they're doing outside of the event, right? Whether that's in media, publication, a learning platform, whatever it is that makes up our environment for that particular portfolio. And now here's how we're going to use AI to score those leads for you, and actually give you that value of, how do I create time to do these things quickly and efficiently and see the value that you're creating for me as a sponsor or an exhibitor?
Yeah, it's a very interesting point that the data that we get about all users can be used not just to enrich the understanding of the event for the organizer, but also these insights are so valuable for exhibitors because they are the only paying party here, stakeholder at this party. Yeah, so this is a very important point where AI can play a role with working with all this large volume of data. Data and registration, we mentioned this several times. And when we speaking about AI, we all understand that fundamental requirement is a relevant and quality data. Data which is properly collected, stored, and analyzed. And let's move to data topic, and I would like to start here with registration, because registration was the key feature picked by 73% of our respondents, and followed by lead retrieval 63% and AI-powered matchmaking 40%. So every single event requires registration, but seeing it as a top feature indicates that this is not yet solved. It's important, also it's an indication of importance, but also maybe there is something that we could look at. Tamar, I would like to start with you. Is there anything broken in the current registration process? Is there anything organizers should prioritize fixing?
There's lots of things broken with registration. First of all, the reg forms are too long. They are collecting data that is of no value to the attendee, the person giving the data. They're asked for questions that have no value to them. They're asked irrelevant questions like, I still get asked for my home address, I get asked for my mobile number, I get asked whether I'm a Mr. or a Ms. I don't know why, because I get sent nothing during the post. I don't know why you need my mobile number, and all the other questions. I think sometimes it's said to be used for matching, so like simple matching of like, say that I'm interested in these products and then try and match me with exhibitors, but in my experience that's never been a particularly good way to match. I think that therefore attendees are not giving accurate data because there's literally nothing obvious in it for them. If you're going to ask for data, make sure you're giving the attendee something back for it. So you need to make it obvious why you're asking for something. And if someone's going to get some value from it, they'll give you honest answers. I think a lot of the data we collect for free trade shows is probably not accurate. You just speed through that very long form as quickly as you can to get the badge. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I think doesn't make sense is I do not understand why I can still buy a very expensive airplane ticket on my mobile, hand over thousands of pounds of money and very personal data in a few seconds or minutes with an airline, and I still cannot do the same thing for a free to attend trade show. The experience is just like topsy-turvy, and I still just see no changes. It's like I can't, since my day, a long time, 15 years ago, and it's still just as broken as it was then.
I
But
remember
I have hope.
Tamar, I remember you on a stage in, I will not mention when was it, like several years ago, saying exactly like the same words. And you also brought an example of new generation back then who will not even check the email. Yeah, but this is a separate topic. Yeah, I think that organizers collect this data because they are afraid to miss out on some data, but having inaccurate data is even worse than having no data, right? But at what stage we should ask them if we want to get to know more? At what stage should we ask them? Is it like while they are browsing the platform, or?
If you use the airline analogy, which is a really old one that I thought about a long time ago, but I get asked for my passport information at the time when I need to get my check-in, my QR code to get in. So the airline doesn't ask you for all that information up front, even though you've just handed over $5,000. It asks you for what you need. You get asked for the bare minimum in order to do the transaction or to get where you need to be. But then it does need more information off you. Like if you want to book a seat and choose a seat, you need a QR code to get into the gate. You want to choose your food. Maybe you want to choose what you're going to watch, all of that kind of stuff. It asks you, you can choose to interact with it, but if there's necessary information, it asks you at the right time. And I feel like people will give you that information if you explain what's in it for them. So if I go to an event and you tell me that you're going to concierge my experience, make sure that I meet the people I've told you I want to meet, be in the right places for the networking events that I'm interested, get reminded about speakers that I'm interested in, all that kind of thing. I will happily tell you what it is that I'm interested in seeing. But to give me a 40-question form that everyone gets and not give me anything back for it just seems crazy. And I think it's being done for exhibitors actually, and I actually genuinely think exhibitors don't care about that data. I am an exhibitor sometimes, and I don't believe it to be accurate, and I only care about the people that I talked to at the event anyway. So I don't care how many came in and how many were CEO level or how many people had lots of budget. I only care about who I see at my booth.
Yeah, at a large scale, when it's explained and triggered by the intention to perform some action, I don't know, meet or browse something, the catalog or something, then it will make sense to provide more information. But yeah,
I think you'll be able to collect deeper, better quality data if you think about why you're asking for it and then try to provide real value to the attendee. I think attendees would love to have a more concierged, personalised experience at events. Just like Narisa was saying, I think it's something organisers want to deliver, but you can start that at registration for sure. But it just needs to be thought about differently, I think.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about data that was collected and from different sources. And Narisa, I would like to ask you this question. So Clarion is a big organization where you run a wide range of events, and Clarion grows with acquisitions and with organic growth, right? And the question is, how do you bring together data from all these different sources, different portfolios, and different providers? How do you marry this data?
Yeah, it's definitely been a long journey, and a lot of what Tamar is saying is definitely correct. We try to run off the premise and the strategy that as simple as we can be in the creation of a profile of an individual, the better, right? So we live by what we call our golden records, and those are what's the information that allows us to provide value, right? I totally agree that notion of immediate gratification when you give a data point is what we need to get to, right? And that's what we're very much focused on. Like, as you're managing your registration, how can we present to them, oh, there's 250 people that you could really be worthwhile either you connecting with. There's 65 sessions or 24 sessions now, or we're tailoring it down as you're giving us more information. I think that's what we're really focused on, is how do we provide that immediate gratification, right? And so the data, we operate across many portfolios, as you know, but we have a lot of rigor in our organization. So I'll start with the organization structure really supports that consistency in our data strategy, right? So we have brand marketeers that work within our portfolios, but we have our central marketing leadership that looks across all of our events and is making sure that consistency is really prevalent, and we're abiding by it, right? It's they're the guardian and the custodian of our data architecture and the way we collect data. So the organization is really important and should definitely be thought about. And then when we are collecting data, the piece that I've been really focused on since joining Clarion 18 months ago has been our relationships with our vendors, right? So we're simplifying who we work with. We've got less vendors, not more vendors, and we're trying to go deep with those partners, right? And reciprocate as well where we can. So as one example, we use, an A/B testing platform that is collecting, videos of what people are doing, where they're dropping off, managing registration. And we try to share that product strategy with our key vendors so that it helps them improve their product. In return, we've got very clear and organized data architecture of how data is coming into our data warehouse, which is treasure data for Clarion. And then all of the data is organized in what for us is our source of truth, right? And that allows us then to have the ability to segment, to have, we've got amazing Power BI dashboards that our marketing team and leaders have worked on, and data teams over the last 2 years or so. But now what we're seeing is you get the data, you get the Power BI dashboards, there's an education, right? Change management and educating businesses is extremely difficult to do, and it takes time. So with patience and love and trust, again, back to the trust, we've worked with those brand teams, and today, they're really flourishing. I have to say, it's phenomenal to see how they're using the data to make data-informed decisions versus, blanketing execution in terms of marketing solutions. So, culture, structure of organization, data architecture, vendor relationships, orchestrating that data management through to your source of truth. It takes time, but once you can do those pieces, then you educate the teams on how to use the data and the visualization of that data. And then you start to see the transformation of how they're using that. And I think we're just at that flexion point now where we're seeing the transformation of our businesses because the marketing teams have become so empowered. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And if, as you mentioned, they need to know why they collect this data and how they can use this data. So some action plan on parameters that are being targeted, KPIs that can be common across the whole organization. And this is the only way how you can benchmark if one show performance good or not. Thank you, Narisa. There is a question that I have about data, and it's about taking actions not after event is over, but maybe before the event or during. So, Stephan, I would like to ask you how important is real-time data? And by real-time data, I don't mean that it's fresh, like 1 minute fresh. I'm talking about, I don't know, a day, two, maybe several days fresh data, which is good enough already. And how can it help organizers to take on their fly adjustments? that we can correct who we invite. Maybe we should invite more people. Maybe we should launch different topic for sessions.
Yeah, real-time data. Before speaking of real-time data, I just want to make the point that I'm totally with Tamar there. Registration is broken, and I'm still a bit ashamed that company like ours, who organize hundreds of events, and same for Clarion, and same for all the other large organizers, and maybe some of them are in the audience, we still have to ask every time all the information to our visitors. We cannot make a proper identity management. We have to ask all the questions, and instead of just watching what people do, Netflix never asked me questions. Amazon never asked me questions. Just watches what I do. So it is broken. So that's a topic I'd love to discuss with Tamar about. But for data, real-time data, well, the first thing is that there's no such thing as real-time data. You can have very quick data, but not really real-time data. Everything
That's
takes
why
time.
asking you, Stephan, I decided to mention this because.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't explain. Well, I spoke with Mikita, and I said, "Well, if I ask this question to Stephan, his first reaction was, there is no real-time data."
Yeah.
That's why I decided to be.
So it
more
is
active.
important. And when you say, oh, 1 day, 2 days is okay, I don't think in 2025 having data 2 days after is okay. I mean, for me, it needs, I don't know, maybe an hour is already super slow as far as I'm concerned. And it's all about getting data within minutes, sometimes seconds. For example, we have a process where when an exhibitor invites people to a show, they can say, I want to get a notification when that person enters the show. If it takes 3 hours to get the notification, it's useless. So you have to have quick data turnover. And you do that by everything related to data is built around data pipeline. It's a little bit technical, but basically it's everything about extracting the data, transforming the data, formatting the data, and pushing it to your data warehouse where you can actually process the data. And then for us, we use tools like Google Big Data, BigQuery, tools like dbt, Airflow, etc., to process those. And it's easy to make quick data, right? The tools to make it, the infrastructure to make it is there. You need data engineers. It's a complex job. Those are sometimes hard to find people, but they can do that. But data is like, for me, data are like cars. If you want fast one, it's more expensive. And it's not a matter of tweaking the cost versus speed all the time and optimizing those data pipelines to get real-time, near real-time data. And then you have to be smarter and think about what is really important. How can I differentiate my different data flows and say this one needs to be faster than this one, so I will spend more money on that one. Optimizing your data refreshes, like for example, we organize trade shows. It's not really useful to, especially if you organize mostly B2B trade shows like us, to have real-time data during the night and refresh your data warehouse every 5 minutes during the night. It doesn't really make sense. You can also adapt that to your calendar of events. If your event is in 3 days, it's more important, or if your event happened today, it's more important to have faster data than if your event is in 6 months. And so you can differentiate by event. So it's a very complex topic. The tools to make real-time data, or almost real-time data, are there. The big companies can afford sometimes, and you see how quickly the data turnover of some companies like Facebook, for example, are in terms of updating your timeline based on different events, etc. It's impressive, but they spend a lot of money on that. So it's just a question of how much effort and money you want to have in your real-time data. But basically, with all the APIs we get in all the systems now, it's possible to have a very quick data refresh time. And I think for the services that we want to provide, especially when you provide during the event services like recommendation and meeting proposals and things like that, you can't afford to have an old-fashioned data warehouse that has 2 days turnover. It's totally not acceptable anymore.
Yes, several minutes or seconds would work better. You mentioned one example, which is notification of exhibitors about a visitor who turned up the show. What other examples that will show us the necessity of real-time data could you bring up? Maybe for organizer. something?
Yes, everything which is related to, for example, location-based services, like if you want to, I don't know, push specific notification to people when they reach a certain point in the show, for example, if you do geolocation on the show, everything which is related to what they do on the online catalog of your website, for example, to be able to, like, okay, they look at an exhibitor on the catalog, you want to be able to propose them other exhibitors to see, for example, all of these things necessitate a very, very quick data turnover. Sometimes it's also just for financial data. If something is paid on one side, it needs to be shown as paid on the other side, because if I buy something on the online shop and then I want to pay it online and then I go into what I've bought and it's not marked as paid, those type of things, it requires almost real-time data.
Yeah.
Another example, and I'm thinking at Gleanin there. If I register to the show and I'm using a registration system and I want to post on LinkedIn that I'm going to be visiting the show, if it's posted 3 hours after, it doesn't really make sense. It needs to be much faster than that.
Yeah, there is an interesting comment. We have that real-time data means real-time reaction capabilities. Maybe not every organizer has these capabilities. And if you have real-time data, but a 10-day internal authorization process real-time is just a cost. Yes, exactly. So we have to make sure that we can action on the data that we receive, but also we need to understand that results of having this data in real time worth the effort and the cost. So
I have one thing to add on that. So one of the ways that we've been looking at the purpose of accessing real-time data is how do we create efficiencies in our business development process? So internally, right, the sales teams, they think they need more resources because the leads and prospects coming in for sponsorship and exhibitors is too high for them to manage. And so we've been able to work with some really cool early stage AI companies that connect to, for us, it's Pardot, that's our marketing solution. And when those forms are completed, like sponsorship inquiries, advertising inquiries, contact us inquiries, it automates a call, right? So within the moment that they've completed the form, to ask them, the goal is typically to set up a meeting or to send further information. But where we're really trying to support that real-time data interaction, right, between two systems is to improve our customer service and our response times, right? So our service level agreements to our prospects and potential customers. And that's been a really great use case for us.
Yeah, and when, and especially if they just fill this in, right, it's relevant for them and they are ready to continue this conversation, because in a few days' time, it wouldn't be relevant. Tamar,
I think there's one more example is access to giving access to leads to exhibitors. I mean, what is going on there? The length of time it takes as an exhibitor to get access to that stuff, there doesn't seem to be a lot of reason why that takes a long time, but it's surely is easier to do. And as an exhibitor, the quick access to that data is really important. In my mind, it should be integrated straight into exhibitor CRMs and stuff, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly. It has to be in real time by all understanding of this term.
Sorry. I was thinking one other use case would be like queue management around if you want to improve your experience from now I'm an attendee at lots of events, the queue management thing. So being able to, I'm not so hot on the being stalked around the show and telling people that I'm there if I've not explicitly opted into it. But I think things like telling people where there's space in catering, so that things don't get blocked up. There's never a seat for your coffee. You could do things about queue management. Come and grab your seat in the sessions. It's nearly filling up, or this place has not got a queue for coffee. So I think there's lots of things that you can do with some of the data and behavior stuff that we're collecting around the show that will make the experience a lot better if the data is used.
Yeah, we could go further and move from just traditional notifications. I don't know. Today we have this session on that session, to more personalized notifications about people's like essentials, food and beverages. Yeah, not only we can go further into more creative stuff. The other topic that I had in mind, I don't know if I have enough time. Maybe I will ask very quick question each, but we will touch this topic a little bit. So digital revenue, and in our survey we had 50% who said that 50% of organizers generated more than 10% of revenue coming from digital, where the other 50% do not get much coming from digital products. So my question is how important digital revenue is overall, and what do you think? Do you think it can change in the future? And just to set this topic, and I would like to ask Narisa, you about what ways of digital revenue generation you think. What products, digital products we can think about? What are these digital streams overall?
Yeah. So, traditionally you have media. So thinking about marketing services, lead generation, extending the lead opportunity for sponsors. So as I mentioned right at the beginning, on site, we obviously have lots of sponsors, and we're garnering leads for them on site as well, but we're capturing that information using AI, right? So we're summarizing sessions, we're presenting it in session debriefs, in day debriefs. Those are created for the sponsors with their content, which can extend the life of the lead generation outside of the event, whether that's marketed to attendees. The time factor, right? You didn't get time to see all of these great sessions. We've summarized day 1, day 2, and day 3 for you in very short synopses, so that you can, capture all that information. That's a lead gen extension, which can drive revenue in different ways over a longer period of time. We're also looking very carefully at subscription opportunities. So what we're trying to think about, right? So you asked me for practical tools, and solutions. The next gen of attendees, right? So growing that attendee funnel is a key consideration and priority for us. So we're using AI tools, agentic solutions to grow the funnel, but also to take our session content, and whilst we don't want to dilute the secret sauce of you have to be there to have appreciated it, we might take a subsection of that, so maybe 10 or 20%, and we're creating from this educational content for the next gen of attendees. So within our key organizations, right, everything from AWS, Oracle, Hitachi, everybody, you're not paying $2,000 to $3,000 for your youngest employees to come, but here's access to really powerful content that allows them to grow in their roles and prepare for when they're going to be ready to attend in 2, 3, 4 years from now. So it's using content from the event itself to help them prepare and become thought leaders and people that can contribute to the conversation on site, right? So those connections, those peer-to-peer connections are really important. So using content in that way. And then the last thing I'll mention is really around subscriptions to learning management software, right? So we've got learning management tools across our fire portfolio that is enabling fire departments to continue education, right? So we're capturing content at the event, we're running on-site education, continuing education, but we're also taking that to the digital environment as a subscription in that environment for fire departments, but it's very extendable across our other portfolios, which is what we're trying to begin to explore now. So that diversification of revenue and products, and we've been saying it for 15 years, right? Extending the life of the on-site product, but really now thinking about how do we use that to grow the next gen.
Yeah, to package, the organizer has lots of content in its possession, and how to repurpose this content is, and this leads to my next question about community engagement. So we have the whole universe of potential visitors of our show, or maybe some people will never come, but they are interested in content and speaking about community engagement, not necessarily from the perspective 365, but from the perspective of generating extra digital revenue. Tamar, what do you think, what opportunities do you think we have here?
So I think I'm a big fan of the subscription model, and I think that there's a big opportunity to change the monetization of events so that there's less dependence on coming up with new products to sell to exhibitors, and starting to think about, when you're monetizing, how do you deliver value to attendees that you can get attendees to pay for? And I think there is like a huge opportunity in subscription models year round, where the event is just one moment in time where people come together, and as part of a membership or part of a subscription fee, they get access to the event. It will allow that dependence that we've got, especially in the for-profit trade show world, of very high dependence on exhibitor revenue, which sometimes drives the wrong thinking about attendees and about attendee value. Just like that reg form thing is like, I know why the data's on there because I worked in trade shows, and I know why we were obsessed with putting more questions on, because we were trying to show value to exhibitors, but the attendee gets nothing out of it. Whereas if you flip it on its head and think, what can we provide of value to attendees, stop thinking about them as attendees, to this industry, of so much value that we can charge a fee to access it, which could be training, learning, content, webinars, smaller networking events, very segmented pieces of value that can culminate in your trade show. It could also be part of your pipeline. It's how you get people to know to create that more valuable relationship with everyone in the industry sector. So I think there's a massive opportunity for monetizing that. I guess it counts as digital because it could all be done online. But I'm cautious about I can't tell you how many meetings we used to have to come up with new products to sell to exhibitors without almost not thinking at all about the impact on attendee, because we had so much of a driver about increasing exhibitor revenue. So I think there's an opportunity for a new model.
Yeah, and for both charging both sides, maybe exhibitor and visitor. Yeah, and speaking about community nurturing, we should think about segmentation and micro communities, and not the whole one. And this is where we will be very successful in targeting with different content. Thank you, Tamar. The final question I have for you, Stephan. And so our traditional model, exhibition or events traditional model, is to sell square meters. And when we sell square meters, everything is clear here, right? We sell square meters, they come, we bring the audience, we connect, they are connected, we connect them. But if we think about digital revenue or revenue generated from digital products from the perspective of digital marketing revenue, where digital marketers are thinking about views, clicks, leads. The question to you will be, so aside from sponsorship banners, what other type of digital revenue could we think about? And can we actually measure the performance? Do we have the tools to measure, track, and analyze this lead clicks, views, leads?
Yes, we have the tools if people use the tools. And this is where I'm not a huge fan of things like a paper lead, for example, because it has several problems for me. I don't see it as a good way to generate revenue, because yes, it could generate revenue, but it means that as opposed to digital marketing tools, where you have no choice, and then you publish your banner, and then it's the performance of the platform. A lot of the lead generation responsibility at trade shows still resides on the shoulders of the exhibitor. They have to be active, they have to invite people, they have to have a good profile, and they have a lot of work to do. And if you ask them to do that and on top pay for each lead they generate, you're going to punish the best one and just reward the lazy ones. And it's so easy to game such a system and say, if I have to pay for my lead generated, I will just not use the tools. I will generate lead the old way and maybe start collecting business cards again. And so it's too easy to game the system. It's a bit, I take it as an analogy to the school where you say the best student will get more homework, basically. So I think for me, generating revenue is, I prefer to have that in the package that you sell to the exhibitor and say, we give you the tool to generate the leads. We give you all the help we can to help you be more effective. And then we measure very effectively how you perform with these tools. And we compare you with the other exhibitors of the show. And we say, you're better than the average, you're lower than the average. This is how the best one perform. I think it's a much better way to generate revenue, because in the end, we're still a lead generation business, right? We organize trade shows so that our customers can generate leads. And another area where we can generate revenue, I think, and this will, for me, be probably the biggest area of growing the digital revenue in the next 3 to 5 years, is everything related to insight. We have a lot of data, and we are very well placed as a platform to collect data about B2B and also B2C. There's a lot of platforms collecting data about P2P or person-to-person or B2C information, but B2B, very few other businesses have the opportunity to understand the dynamics of a community or an industry as well as we do. And with the tool we start having now, especially with the use of AI and LLMs and all of the data we have collected over the past, 10, 15 years, I think this will be the biggest area for increasing digital revenue in the next 5 years, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Stephan. I will bring one question from the audience, and it will be from Victor. So who's curious to know if benchmarking performance against portfolios and other like events is of value. Maybe it's the reference to the question that Narisa, you were talking about merging of the data from different portfolios. So why is it important?
I mean, so to answer Victor's question, absolutely, and I'm at CISO this week and met with a tech company that is actually doing just that, where we can start to help marry up sponsors to events, right, in a way that is meaningful to the sponsor, right? So I think it's a pretty exciting time for those looking to be more scrutinous about their marketing spend, right, at exhibitions and trade shows. But then for us as an organizer, right, if we're able to benchmark performance against portfolios, yes and no, right? Because the portfolios are extremely diverse and varied and different, have different goals, to your early point, different KPIs. Absolutely, we're measuring against EBITDA and top line revenue and key metrics at an organizational level. But for each of the portfolios, their benchmarks around key indicators like value for money, the likelihood to return to the event, some of those metrics that we track, yes, those are across the organization. But then there are very specific metrics to each of the events. So it's a bit of both, right? There are organizational level metrics that, yes, help us benchmark, but then there are metrics that are around the customer and the audience and the industry that are very specific to the events, that mean that there are nuances, right? So it's kind of a bit of both.
Yeah, and if you do testing of different approaches and one event performs very well, it's good to know what's happening there, and if we can implement it across the whole board of events. I'm very, very grateful for your time today, and I think that if the discussion brings even more questions it was an interesting discussion. And I know several areas where we could launch a separate webinar for. And I would like to wrap up on the note. So I recently went through the research by Accenture. And according to that research, the next big thing overall in all industries is AI cognitive digital brain. And my biological brain was blown up by just understanding, I don't know, I probably is about to understand this, and all of us. So it will completely reshape the role of technology. And in simple words, for businesses, it might seem more like a central nervous system. The evolution of the business infrastructure, architecture into something that can capture the collective knowledge, internal collective knowledge about the organization, culture, sales patterns, product information, and external competitive information, etc., and become a key autonomous, which is important because autonomy will be the best, the next big thing, right? When AI agents are being operated by this digital brain. So I would like to leave us all on this, and it will be happy to share the link to this research by Accenture. Thank you very much, everyone who is interested in reading our tech event forecast. Please follow the link in the comments. This video is recorded and will be available for those who signed up for this webinar, and we will send via email. And if anyone who is watching now is interested to reach out to us, we are all on LinkedIn, right? If everyone agrees to answer questions, if there is any. And thank you, everyone. I saw that we had different greetings. Good afternoon, good morning. So wherever you are in the world, have a very great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.